Good morning. My name is Cheryl Glazer. I own a consulting business called Achieve Consulting, and I have had the pleasure of working with efforts in Southwest West Central Minnesota around career and technical education since 2015, and I am now working with the Minnesota Service Cooperative statewide on this initiative. And so I was super excited to hear from Luke and Kelly this morning about the data that kind of shows that what we've been doing here in Southwest West Central Minnesota is making a difference for students in our region. So the effort that I'm referring to that I've been part of is called LIFT, Launch Your Future Today. LIFT Pathways is really about strengthening career and technical education in our school systems, but more importantly, it's about connecting business and industry to students directly. And that's what the panel here today is going to share with you, is the ways in which they have been connecting and what they're seeing with students. It was alluded to this morning by both Luke and Kelly how this takes a village. It's a very collaborative effort. All the businesses and industry are a key partner in this, but also all of our workforce agencies, higher education institutions, especially our two-year. So it takes a lot of people to make this work. And Southwest West Central Minnesota, I can speak from experience as well. You guys do collaboration better than other areas of the state. So kudos to you. What LIFT is really about is 3 E's. It begins with providing exploration opportunities for students. That's where they get just that first initial, like, what do I like to do? What are my skills? What are my interests? And what are the plethora of career opportunities that are out there? I think what's shifted is now we tell them about the career opportunities that are in their backyards more than we share a broader view of opportunities. Then exposure, taking that next step of a deeper dive where they start to do things like career fairs and job shadows, interviews with employers, having employers come in and do presentations, so they can really get a better understanding, like Luke said, of what actually takes place in that job. What would I actually be doing? And they're hearing it from people who are actually doing those jobs. And then experience is the part of the path where they actually go and get some skills. They might take a CTE course that has a credential attached to it if they're working with a post-secondary institution like Minnesota West or Ridgewater. Gaining some of those credentials and the actual skills and planning for their future by figuring out what's the pathway to get me to what I want to do for a career. So that's what LIFT is all about. I like to include these pictures because it's actually all about the students. It's about making a difference in the lives of these students, helping them to find meaningful work opportunities for their future, whether that be after they attend post-secondary education or jump straight into the workforce or go into military, whatever that path may be, it's about finding what works for them. And just to let you know that this is part of a larger initiative, all of the service cooperatives across the state are collaborating to build this CTE ecosystem that really advances the business and education partnerships and puts forth this effort. And so there has been a consortium meeting for about a year and a half now. We actually have a vision and mission, we have goals, we have strategies, and we're working to implement those now statewide. So kudos to this region because you've set the pace, you've set the tone. We're taking the things that we've learned here in Southwest West Central Minnesota and expanding it and broadening it to the whole state. And a key partner in this effort has been the Southwest Private Industry Council. Early on, we discovered that students needed more one-on-one support to find these pathways and to experience directly with businesses. Our career counselors and teachers just didn't have the capacity to do that level of student support. A lot of our career counselors are spending a lot of time on mental health issues now. They don't have time to do as much of the one-on-one planning with students. And so Southwest Private Industry Council and Central Minnesota Jobs and Training have been a key partner in the LIFT initiative. This slide just shows you how many touch points of students they had just in the school year 2022 to 2023 in the region. All of these different ways that they've explored opportunities, gained exposure, and actually done workplace readiness training and experience. So with that, Kelly.
Hello, my name's Kelly Rickert. I'm with the Southwest Minnesota Private Industry Council. I'm one of the youth career connectors. So my job is really to be an intermediary between schools and employers. So you don't have to do it alone if you're interested in kind of getting involved. It's my job to kind of help make those connections. I know schools are very busy. I know employers are very busy. So any way that I can help connect students to local employers, I am glad to do it. We serve the whole 14-county Southwest Minnesota region, so all the way up from Big Stone and Swift down to Rock, Nobles, and Jackson, doing this work. So as Cheryl had mentioned, connecting them to job shadows, business tours, informational interviews, creating events where students can really get in front of these careers and learn what it's all about is what we do. In the hopes that we are working on our future workforce by sharing these careers with our youth, because we hope that some of them will stay and fill some of our open positions. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. So on to the important stuff. We have with us today a great group of folks that are going to share with us and help you see how you as a business and industry partner can be engaged, and or if you're here as an economic development person or a person from your community, how you can be involved too. So I'm going to let each one of them introduce themselves and share a little bit about what they have been doing, and then we have a few questions we're going to ask, and I'll give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions as well.
Good morning. I am Nicole Wood. I'm with Ortonville Area Health Services in Big Stone County. And we hold an annual health careers camp for students ages 14 to 18. It's held the third Wednesday of every single June. It's an all-day event. We take up to 25 students to keep the number a little bit smaller and to allow more hands-on. Through our program, we rotate our students through 7 different departments. Every year is completely different. So students come back multiple years as well. Yeah, that's a little bit about our program.
I'm Kim Collin. I'm with CNH Industrial. Most people know us as Case New Holland. We're out of Benson. We work with the Youth Skills and Trade Program. Kelly's been very helpful in setting that up. Last year, meaning during the summer, we had 4 students with the Benson School District, and we actually had 1 student with the Morris School District. In the past, our location had really only worked with the Benson School District, and we had done more like high school intern type things. And they were only working basically in the front office because of the requirements for the state of Minnesota. So obviously we're assembly, fab, paint, and weld in our location. So I was really frustrated in the fact that we have an awful lot of agricultural students in our area, and not being able to provide some type of summer employment with them and really getting them to understand what we do. So Kelly was great in helping us set up, and we got approved in our assembly location. I'll be very honest with you, it was not very hard to do with that. You had to integrate with our safety program to be approved to work, with the different cranes, hoists, and different things that we use, but it was fairly easy to get it done. I will be honest with you, the hardest thing was the schools and getting our schools to work with us. We've always had a really good working relationship with Benson. So what I did is we actually went out to our employees and started saying, hey, we have these opportunities for your students, your kids. If they're 16 and older, if they're looking, for a summer job, this is what has to happen. And this is how we've gotten one from Morris, and one recently the other day contacted us now from Hancock. So, but it's not, I mean, the schools, I'll be very honest with you, we have school representatives here today. They aren't overly responsive for that, but going to your employees is by far your best bet. These parents, and I'm a parent of 5, my 5 kids are all different, and I knew some that went to college and some didn't, and I didn't have opportunities for mine that didn't, like we're providing. So it is very important. Those 4 students from Benson continue to work through us now through the school year. We work around their schedules, and they're encouraged to be high school students, participate in sports and all their other activities, but we still continue to offer them different programs to work in, even if it's just a day or 2 out on the line if they're in assembly, so that they can work in with that. So next year we're looking at actually getting our material handling area certified, which then will allow us in our Wilmer location where our warehouse is at, to work with those individuals from the Wilmer district and open it up to other areas as well too.
Hello, I'm Pam Hilber. I'm the Director of Talent Development for Avera's Health Systems. So including this area as well as most of South Dakota, Northeast Nebraska, Northwest Iowa, and a site up in North Dakota. So currently we're recruiting for 1,400 open positions. So as you can imagine, high school is laser focused for us right now. It is our future. We need to figure it out. Ongoingly, we have had success with an acronym we call JIVE. And many of us who know the Bee Gees and Jive Talk, and we don't even sing that to your high school kids anymore because they don't have a clue what we're talking about. But some of us in the room do. So J, job shadowing. So if you're in a business, you're not offering job shadowing. Obviously, healthcare has been all across the map, right? Through COVID, we had to lock that down. That couldn't be done safely. Now, post-COVID, we're back at it. How do you define the fences? How long are those experiences going to be? What parts of your industry are they going to be? What are the pieces that keep the student and, for us, our patients, safe and happy, right? So phones have to stay in the car. Your dress needs to look a particular way, right? So we're painting the fences for the high school students. We would welcome you in from 2 to 4 hours to shadow many of our areas. Obviously we can't put, we don't put high school students into surgery. That's been kind of a train wreck in the past, and so we've just had to decide that some of them are not ready to do that. But could we get them close? Can we pair them with a nurse who cares for patients right after surgery? Could we do something very close? So J, job shadowing, we are overwhelmingly, that's overwhelmingly popular in many of our locations such as Grand Falls. So come see the occupation you desire to be, the career you desire to be. As you know, most high school kids are seeing healthcare very, very limited scope, right? It's caring for patients, doctor, nurse, and typically, we find it's pretty compartmentalized. I want to be an orthopedic surgeon, I want to be a surgeon, a labor delivery nurse. You've probably heard a lot of those. Our job is really to broaden this world, right? There are so many ways to contribute to healthcare that you never touch a patient, myself included, right? I work in HR. I don't touch a patient, but I support people who touch a patient, okay? And provide quality services. So that's the J. Internships, again, Avera's been all over the map. In the beginning, when I started this work 10 years ago, we had so many college students to train clinically. We truly didn't have room for high school students on an internship, 150 hours this semester, right? Because we're training nursing students, med students, PA students. We're pretty full to the gills of that, of the students that needed to have that. Well, that's all come full circle. Now, many of our locations are going to be open to high school interns, and that's a really, really great thing. So again, if you're in industry, reaching out to the schools and vice versa, don't assume that they won't do a high school internship. Many of us will because we need to, okay? We've needed to reverse our stance on that. So, and the other one, volunteer, is the V. We pitch volunteering. Now there's legalities to that. You can't have a high school student 17, let's say, volunteering, doing the same duties as somebody we pay to do those same duties. But we can find things for them to do, right? And maybe they don't want to be a transporter for a career. We get it. But come get in the setting, okay? Come get in, find out why is that person wearing light blue scrubs? That person wears green scrubs. What do they do? What does this person do? I mean, you can really only appreciate all the careers in all of your industries once you're in it, okay? So we sell volunteering also as a great resume builder, right? Especially for some of your kids in this area that might want to get into more competitive healthcare programs, right? So if you have a whole 300 hours of volunteering already in healthcare, you're going to automatically jump up over applicants that don't have any, right? Into nursing programs, into medical school, into PT and OT, those very competitive programs. So volunteering can always be a wonderful thing. If that's something the kids you know would be interested in, it can be very limited. For us, we run background checks. We got to do that whole thing that healthcare requires. So we do require volunteers at least commit to a minimum of 50 hours because we've got expense and time into them. So we don't want them to come for 4, okay? So lots of opportunities there if you see them working for you. And then the E is employment. Early employment, same thing. Gosh, come work, even if it's food service, even if it's delivering trays to patients, what you're learning, many life skills, right? How to knock, how to say good morning, how to make eye contact, how to smile. Those are all things their cell phones aren't teaching them right now. But when they get to us, that's what we expect. So see the gap? So it does not matter what job they take in healthcare to get started, just get started, right? So JIVE, JIVE, is how we typically interact with high school students in a bunch of other efforts to be at career fairs and the same things that Nicole talked about. So I think that's basically our summary. Is that one on?
Yeah.
I'm Jamie Pauling with J&D Construction. Our company does construction and manufacturing of equipment in the agricultural industry. And the big thing that we do with the school is we actually teach the agricultural welding class. There was a new teacher a couple years ago, and they needed help in the high school, and the superintendent had asked if we'd be interested in helping, and neither one of us knowing what exactly that meant at the time. And so what we have done is we moved in and treated it like our own shop. We set it up, got new equipment. We've been helping financially, but more importantly with our time. So we're in our 3rd year right now, actually teaching the class, and we've developed a curriculum and the lesson plans and everything. And so we're starting to pull back a little bit and let the teacher take over, because we're actually hoping to add a 2nd section and to possibly add a college credit section as well. And so in addition to teaching them welding, the first couple weeks is safety, so and then we keep touching on that. We show them how to put out fires, we show them the right equipment to wear. In addition, we are teaching them how to fill out an application and how to estimate and things like that, so that they can get a well-rounded education of what they would actually need in a real welding shop. We're not spending 10 weeks in a book and in the classroom learning 30 different types of welds and 15 different kinds of welding rods and wire and that type of thing. We're in the class for a week or 2, then we're welding. Then we might be in for a day or 2 or welding, because the students in these CTE classes, they're not in school and necessarily enjoying the 100% sitting in a chair looking at a board in front of you, right? So we know our audience, we work with our audience all the time, and so we've adapted the class for that type of student to be successful. In addition to that, like I said, we've worked with the school, we've given financially, but also the school is able to find grants and some money that they have had to make improvements in the shop and for new equipment and other educational purposes. We also take the students on field trips to other businesses that are somewhat related to welding. We go to our office and shop, but other types of businesses as well, such as Kibble Equipment. so they can get exposed to know what is in our home area and the opportunities that exist for them that are already here and that they might already be interested in but don't realize. Many of the students don't realize what our area has. And so we expose them to as many things as we can.
Awesome. I have a pretty loud voice. I think you can all hear me, right? I'm going to let them have the microphones. So I want you to think back to when you first started working with the schools. What did that look like? How did you jump in? I heard you mention, Jamie, that you just literally didn't know what it was going to look like, but you jumped in and figured it out. So anybody who wants to start this, just share, what did that look like when you started so that people out there who haven't done it yet can get a sense of what that can look like?
I'll start. I think my piece of advice would probably be persistent. Again, healthcare workforce has historically been cyclical. Like we had times where we had too many nurses trained for the need, too many pharmacists trained for the need. Now those things have all come full circle and we don't have enough of either. So that really drives the efforts on our end as well. So those of you, if anybody's out in the audience from Redwood Falls, knows that nationally HOSA exists. All right, HOSA is like, think FFA or DECA or whatever, but for healthcare. Okay, so the only one in this area, I believe, is Redwood Falls. But if you are part of a school and you want a very driven, successful chapter of an extracurricular type of group, I really encourage you. So we started with HOSA. HOSA is very popular in South Dakota, many chapters, that's screening all the students that are interested of the entire high school, the ones that are interested in healthcare are meeting here. So obviously that's where we wanted to be. Again, we have a lot of need, only so many resources. How do you get at what you really need? So HOSA chapters are very helpful to us. They're an identified crowd. I would love it if every high school in the crowd could pursue one of those for yourselves. National competitions, state competitions, all those wonderful things. So, and the persistent piece is, for us, it's just really, we've identified our top 5 critical needs. Out of those 1,400 openings, what are the top 5 themes that we have to have? And we are laser focused. So we're asking career teachers, career counselors, can we get into your school? We're talking to chemistry teachers, can we get in your school? We're talking to biology teachers, can we get in your school? We want to get in your school, how do we do it? So be persistent. All of them are very busy, right? But we all care about the kids you have in your classroom. We all care about them. So we want to help, we want to bring materials. So our activities, we know, high school students are a little bit done with Zoom and that whole thing after COVID. They want us to come in, have some energy, do some hands-on things, right? So we're, again, laser focused. How do we profile those 5 most important things we need? How do we bring those activities? How do we talk about the college dollars we have available for those 5 careers? So persistence, be laser focused, that would be my advice.
Kim, or Nicole, let's come back to you.
So for us, we kind of went about it, we started the Health Careers program ourselves and then engaged with the schools following. So we decided as an organization, we wanted our students to come in because at the time we didn't have a volunteer program. We wanted the students to come in, so we created the program itself and then engaged with the schools. So we engaged with 5 different school districts. Our local school district has been huge in supporting other ventures with us. Example, we operate the OHS Trojan Clinic out of our school now. We started a nursing assistant school within our, nursing assistant class within our school district, which the school fully supported and that, offered the elective graduation credits with it. one of our other school districts has mandatory job shadowing. So I engage with that school counselor and remind them that we have this opportunity available every June for students, and can we use that as, fulfilling that requirement. So for us, after we created the day, it was engaging with the school counselors and maintaining that relationship throughout the year. It's not just a one-time touch base, it's throughout the year. Keeping our name active within the school districts itself, reminding them of, not only the camp that we offer, but the other opportunities that we do have available, whether it is volunteering or job shadowing or, community activities that we're doing on either one of our campuses. That has been huge for us.
Yeah, so all of you allude to or talk about how things have grown, right? You started somewhere and then it expands from there. I think every one of you mentioned something that is being done now that wasn't in the beginning. How did you get to that point? Tell us a little bit about that journey of expanding. Was it because of school interest, your own interest, a little bit of both? Tell us a little bit about how that has played out.
I guess in that respect, I think I would encourage businesses to look at this a little bit differently. I mean, we're not out here just to fill our jobs, to expand. And I like what the construction company is doing, because you have to look at it as a social responsibility. One of the statements that we have is, why should we fear training people and they leave us? The fear should be we don't train them and they stay. And it really comes back to these jobs too. What if these high school students, or what if these people in these areas, you don't offer them the opportunity, or they don't know what's available there, and they stay and have no skills? And I can tell you, I have probably 50 applicants a day that come and they have absolutely no skills, nothing behind them with that. And so I encourage businesses to look at it in that social responsibility part of it. If our assemblers, those high schoolers we have, if they choose to go to a different city, we've given them a skill that they wouldn't have had. And some of the data we don't see today is what happens when they're 30 and 40. Because we've seen in the past, 30 and 40-year-olds typically migrate back to their home areas. And so now, you may not have an immediate return, but you've got to look at it in a longer scope. And that's what has driven us to look out and to encourage further development within that.
Jamie, I know you mentioned that too. I was struck by when you said that you were taking students on tours to other businesses. There was a time when that competition factor would have been huge. Tell us a little bit about how you did that.
Well, when we started working with the school, my goal wasn't to hire 30 students every year out of the high school to work at my company, okay? And so there was a lot of talk around the community that how the ag department and that type of class, those types of classes weren't what they used to be. And I have all girls, and girls typically aren't in those classes, so I didn't have a lot of exposure, to what the ag department was anymore. And so once we did get in there, then we saw that, it was neglected. The walls were dirty and the equipment was old, it was cluttered, and so on and so forth. And so you could see that the mentality of the school for those type of classes has been taken a back seat, where 25 years ago, I don't think that was the case. And so we got that fixed up and we got that going. And again, I just dove in and kept going, because the school didn't know how to ask me what they needed. They didn't know how to ask that question. We kept going round robin of, well, would you like to help? And I say, yes, what would you like me to do? Well, whatever you would like to do. I said, well, how many hours a week would you like me there? Well, how many hours a week would you like to be there? So I saw that, okay, I'm just gonna come in and take over like it's one of our shops. And we do our safety program. We train them as if they're going to be our employees. A lot of our employees are trained on the job. And so this is nothing new to us other than being in somebody else's building doing it. And so I took the approach after a while. At first I started, can I do this and can I do that? And the answer was always yes or I don't know. So then I just decided, well, we need to do this and we need to do that, and this is what we're going to do, and everybody is okay with it. Okay, so sometimes we got to find money. We contribute money quite a bit for it, because if I believe that they need it, we find a way to get it. Okay, and so, but the biggest hurdle I think was just developing what the school needed. And them getting to understand that, hey, this is important and we need to put this in the forefront. And we just had another referendum, and which did fail, which I'm very disappointed in, because we got to the point where we were getting all new shops, all new CTE shops. And I was very excited because I wanted to expand into more CTE classes. I say and I know I'd have to ask permission from them, of course, but I got these big plans, and I think it's going to be great for the community, and we all have to not lose sight that we always need somebody to plumb our houses and do electrical, and these are the type of kids that are going to do that, not the ones that are going to four-year colleges. They're not coming to our homes and fixing those types of things, fixing our cars and so on. And so that's really what my goal has been. I don't care where they go work after the class, but I do care that that at least a good portion of them decides working with my hands is a good income, and it's a good career to have. So
It's putting on the hat of your whole industry and the community rather than just your single business.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. So the other thing that I hear a lot about as I'm working across the state is, how do you describe the return on investment to businesses when it is long-term? It's not necessarily immediate, although we have had some really great examples of students that do gain employment sooner than they would have otherwise. But just talk a little bit about that return on investment, and then we want to make sure it holds time here. So just briefly, anybody who has thoughts on how would you describe to businesses that return on investment?
So this one really excites me because I love statistics, and we've had a super good response from all of our students. So knowing that we cap our program at 25 students every year, we have seen up to 100% of employment for students. 1 year in particular, we average right around 52% of employment following our Health Careers Camp for our students. And right now, we started our program in 2018, missing 1 year during COVID. Right now, we're seeing those 2018 students come back, and they're employed full-time with us. And that number may be only 4 people, but 4 is huge when you have 0 applicants. It's huge. So yeah, the number one thing that I do is I give out my personal cell phone to all of the students that walk through our doors. They text me, they job shadow, they come and visit. The hands-on is huge. They don't want to lecture. They want hands-on, let me know what I can do. And they come back and they stay with us.
Awesome. Anybody else want to speak?
I would say that your return on investment is more than the students that you hire, but it's also the outlook within the community as well too. The PR part of it is huge, especially for CNH Industrial. I mean, we're looked at as an organization. They come for job shadowing, they come for tours, and like I said, the YSD program, it's how we look and how we're open to having those people come back. And it means a lot to your current employees. I talked about most of those students that we have, their parents are already working for us. And so that's a huge loyalty aspect that you're building with that aspect too.
I'll just say too, like you guys have alluded to up here, anytime you're measuring interest versus did they come back and work for me, right? So did they do these interventions with all of us? Are they more interested? And so anytime they even take a healthcare position with another provider in our footprint, that's one less position. We have to, that's one less position and person that our competition might need that we then have. Does that make sense? So again, what are you measuring on return of investment? If you're measuring interest, that's really awesome and wonderful and exciting to see. We've just simply had to go to, and many of you probably have as well, we will pay for your training in this for a 3-year work commitment. And we're paying for people to go through respiratory therapy school, those 5 areas, the lab, nursing, radiology tech, and surge tech. We're just simply paying for them these days because that is the return on investment. We're gonna interview you. If you're a culture fit, we're gonna offer you a contract. We're gonna make payments directly to the training program on your behalf, and you sign a commitment that you'll come back and work for us full-time for 3 years. And so those are very easy to track, how successful they are. The key in between is they gotta train with you, right? So if they sign on to work for you, but they're off training in Minneapolis or whatever, it's very difficult to get them to come back. So do the training that they need as part of their academic programs in your facilities. They're meeting people, it reduces your orientation time, all those things. But that's the easiest piece of return on investment that we've found so far.
Yeah, just to reiterate, I can't say enough about relationships. I mean, we ask students, how do you want to learn about these jobs? And they say from people who actually do them. But it's also about who do you have as that connect point. Say you do go to school and now you need an internship during the summer. You've got all these contacts now from your own community. Where are you going to go? Your own community, instead of staying at college and living there for the summer. Anyway, awesome. Thank you so much. We want to open it up to you for questions for these folks. If you have a question, just raise your hand and Kelly will come with the mic and we'll have someone answer. And if you could repeat the...
Hi, this question is for Jamie. I'm curious to know how, if you built this educational program, if there was any problem with not having a teaching credentials, or how did you handle that?
You might call me a problem solver. So I saw the problem and I learned how to write a lesson plan, and I learned how to teach the kids, the students. It is different than teaching adults, right? I have teenagers, so I get that. I actually do have my teaching license now. I did get it. And so I wanted more of that, so that sometimes there's times where the teacher needs to go somewhere with another student to do something. I wanted to make sure that there was a licensed teacher in the room, just to avoid any issues, later. I don't know what they would have been, but I'm a cautious person too. So really it was just me digging in and trying. Again, the teacher that was in the room, she was very young. She just got done with student teaching, I think, the year before. And so she had limited skills in welding and teaching that type of student that's going to be doing that type of thing. And so, like I said before, we do that all the time. We teach people who don't know how to weld all the time in our company. And so we knew that. It was just learning how to do it in a different setting.
Awesome. Thank you, Dan. Anybody else? Okay, one back there. Kelly's going to get her exercise.
This is more of just a comment, but kudos to what you guys are doing, but we need more of that. There's a disconnect between the colleges, the schools, and employers. Huge disconnect. And if we can get that gap covered, I mean, you're going to get employees and stuff like that. I see some heads nodding. You guys realize because you're doing it.
Yeah. Oh, there's one over here first. Oh.
Well, I just wanted to make a comment also and show appreciation for what you're doing. I was actually in Redwood Falls for a long time, and they've got a lot of great things going. Jamie, what district are you helping?
Montevideo, ISD 129.
Okay,
Yep.
great. But I wanted just to encourage you guys to be strong in going into the schools like you have, because I don't think we know. I'm currently a school superintendent yet, but we don't know what we don't know. And so in Redwood Falls, maybe 5, 6, 8, 7 years ago, I don't know what it was, but we convened a group like yourself, only there were 30 community business leaders. And we asked them, we want to make a major move into CTE. What do we need to teach kids? And it's so rewarding to hear you say today, it's about the soft skills. We can teach them what they need to know once they enter our factories or our workplaces. I don't think there's a lot of folks like you, Jamie, who are willing to make that kind of commitment. So I would just encourage that you or the business community keep asking schools, because I think there is a readiness for it. It's just they don't know, we don't know, and so we need to have this interaction. And I like the interaction directly with businesses and the local school, because it's very wholesome, and you also are getting a first-hand look at people who might be employable, and I'm sure there are conversations go on like that. And then just two other points. I remember that we had some kids that were having all kinds of trouble in school, in traditional school. And after starting these programs, I remember one night specifically, it was going to snow. And I had two kids come up to me, they were in internships at a local manufacturing plant, Daktronics, and ask, if we don't have school tomorrow, can we still go to work? And it was amazing. I mean, they could do that, but they turned on, the rest of their school life turned on. All of a sudden, they started seeing things happen that weren't before. And it was all because of the partnerships that we had with folks like yourself. So I'm just only conveying very positive things. The other thing I was going to just say is we also tried to have training opportunities where adults who had graduated from school before could come into your classroom and sit alongside kids that were learning how to weld. But they also, it's awkward. They don't know if that's a good or a safe thing to do. And so I would encourage you to ask, school leaders or whomever you're working with, hey, can we make that opportunity also? Because it's a good retraining opportunity for some that maybe have lost their ways or are looking for something else.
Yeah.
But thank you very much for everything you've done today.
I have one comment
Sorry,
to that.
who's that guy?
I have one comment to that, and I alluded that to when I started. I've been at CNH now for over 5 years. On my 3rd year there, we have a STEM grant. That year, I sent out 20 letters to area schools. My kids grew up Southwest Minnesota, small school. I knew we worked for everything we got in that school. I got one reply from those 20 schools for that STEM grant of $25,000. So yes, we do need to reach out to the schools, but I can tell you out of all those 20 schools, I got 20 replies for money to donate for prom. So as you can tell in my voice, the frustration from that is we have to be looked at as not simple money givers. We have to be looked at as partners, and the schools need to come to us as businesses as well to partner. We have never at CNH turned down a visit, a shadow, or anything else, because I feel all of those are important, whether it be hourly, engineering positions, financial positions, all of them. But we need to spread to the schools that they have to come to us other than post-prom activities.
Which is why the importance of having people like Kelly. I want to get to that gal. She had her hand up before. So, right there in the plaid, right? The pink plaid.
Totally different topic here, but for those of you who are in the healthcare field, how do you address the HIPAA compliance requirements for a job shadow experience?
We have an online application that they are attesting. I have read, we have paragraphs about HIPAA, the penalties, those pieces. And so when they are putting in an online application to job shadow in one of our locations, they are attesting, I have read this and I understand this. So that's the best we can do with that. We keep those records for 7 years. Should we ever have a patient that came back saying my confidentiality was breached because of that student, so we can go back if we ever had to. I don't believe we've ever had to. So, are you looking for more, or? Okay, all right.
We have the same thing, because we have HR co-ops that work with us too. So it's not just within the healthcare, and we have the same thing that they have to
have to agree to those.
Which is a good workplace readiness skill in and of itself, that you have to adhere to these things. So any other questions in the audience?
Since we have some educators here, I would like to say that the CTE classes really should be getting the same credit as the art classes. So if a student has to take art to qualify for that credit, they should also be able to take welding and woodworking and that sort of thing, because I'll show you a welding, I'll bring you to our welding shop and you'll see who the artists are. You'll look at their weld and you'll see how beautiful it is. We had 2 kids that they decided that they were done just practice welding, and they made a birdhouse, right? They came up with it themselves. It looks like a bird prison because it's all steel, but it's cool. They came up with it themselves. You know, right now we are doing a task, a lesson plan, where we have them use all the cutting equipment, so they cut a whole bunch of small pieces of steel. Then we give them instructions to build a tower that will not tip over once a weight is added, but they have to design the entire thing themselves and use the pieces that they're given, for the ones that they cut. And so really would like educators to start pushing towards getting the CTE classes the same credentials as the art and music classes, that sort of thing. Because let's face it, there's gonna be a lot more welders in this world than people going to the symphony orchestra, right? That's just the way it's going to be. And so I think that the CTE just needs to get that credit.
And speaking of advocacy, talk to your local legislators, because they listen to businesses even more than they listen to education. So that is something you're seeing, a shift in perspectives around CTE. Telling you statewide, you start to hear a lot more about CTE is important for everyone. Whether you're a student that is going to go into welding or a student that's going into engineering or manufacturing in general, being involved at a CTE course helps you to see what the scope of the work is about, not just a specific job. So we're starting to see that shift in perspective, but it's been eroding for a number of years, so it's going to take us a while to build it back up. And just to the point of outreach, I mean, it takes everyone. You know, you got to reach out to your schools have to reach out to you. Use the liaisons that we have in the region. This region has more liaisons than any other region, I can tell you that. People like Kelly who are there to help you make that connection. So if you're reaching out to a school and not getting a response, reach out to Kelly. She'll make sure you get a response. If you're a school who doesn't know what businesses to go to Kelly or Maria. There's lots of people in the room. Or if you don't know who to reach out to, contact Ariane, because Ariane can help you. As far as that goes, I could help you. Just be asking. There's lots of chamber members who understand and know what is happening in the region. Just keep asking questions. So with that, unless there's any additional questions, I believe our time is up. And I thank all of you as panelists for sharing what you've learned and know, and thank all of you for attending. And if you do one thing following this conference, pick one thing that you're going to do to bridge businesses and education in your community. You will reap the rewards. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.